Welcome back to the Show. We are two geeks who talk about everything. I am Aaron, and as always, I'm joined by my cousin Landon. Say hello, sir.
I will say hello, and to you, sir. Hello as well to you. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
Marvelous.
Are you, though? All right, folks. Today we are getting into the discussion of the latest DC movie to hit cinemas, which came out this past weekend, Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Now, Landon, you sent me a number of text messages today while you were sitting in the movie, and they weren't positive, man. This is crazy to me because of the two of us. As I've pointed out, I'm the cynic. I'm the one who usually has bad things to say. I'm the one who's nitpicking stuff, and you are, to use your word, the enthusiast. Dude, you're like Jimmy Fallon. You love everything. What is wrong with you today? Did you go camping and accidentally use poison oak as toilet paper?
No.
It happens. Don't be ashamed.
No, I know I'm typically the enthusiast. Okay, I already had low expectations for the film. I did. But I enjoyed the first one. But as I sat through this movie, a few things came to mind. I texted you a few things that came to mind, and I don't want to be too harsh.
But you were. I can quote some of these. I'll get into that. All right, first, guys, let's just give you all a fair warning that there will be spoilers for the latest Shazam movie because obviously it came out this weekend. We are going to be talking the crap out of it. I figure first half of the show or whatever, we'll be talking about Shazam, and then we'll move into kind of some speculation about the DC universe moving forward because there's a lot of shakeups happening over at Warner Brothers, and I think it's fair to have a discussion about what this movie could mean moving forward, or does it mean anything at all? Like there's always that question. So spoilers are on for this one. If you haven't seen Fury of the Gods, Landon's going to say don't. I personally, I liked it. I thought it was all right. I was entertained. Is this going to win any awards? Absolutely not. Does this, this for me, this is a middle of the road superhero movie. It checked off the boxes. I wasn't blown away. Didn't hate it. Just whatever.
For me, it entertained me like if I was watching a circus monkey that escaped, grab poop and throw it at someone else. That's the kind of level of entertainment that I got out of this movie. It's kind of one of those things that you laugh at and then realize that you probably shouldn't laugh at that because it's kind of a sad and rude thing to happen. There we go.
So I knew you had low expectations going into it. I'm not sure why. I didn't have super high expectations. I was looking forward to it because the first one was fun. So I expected this to at least be, on par with that. 30 minutes into the movie, you text me, the only thing that sucks about this movie is the dialogue. Apparently that opinion changed as time went on, because then about half an hour later, you say 1 hour in, so far, the only one that knows how to deal with bleep dialogue is Helen Mirren.
I meant Mirren.
It's Mirren.
I know.
Mirren.
I gotcha.
Do you know? Did you not know until you saw the credits?
I was distracted by the...
Okay, honestly, if it was just Levi, as in Zachary Levi, who plays Shazam, and Mira, the movie would be better.
That's what
when I am in the middle of a movie and I start thinking about how waxing my legs would be a better use of my time, ellipses, I feel like I'm being unreasonably harsh. Folks, this is all a quote from Landon, my cousin here, texting me during the movie. If you want me to stop.
No, I feel like I feel like the running dialogue of my thoughts is appropriate. A caution, even a caution.
I feel like I'm being unreasonably harsh. Let me rephrase. If I was in the middle of a colonoscopy and I woke up and realized the situation, I'm not going to use that word, and the exposure I was in, I would say, thank you. May I have another before I would pay to watch another DC movie? There you go. That's more accurate. And then he goes on to berate the film by saying, it's like I had a dream. And if you've got a weak stomach, like if the spoiler thing didn't turn you away, this really should. I mean, why are you listening to this episode? If you got a weak stomach, turn it down for the next 10, 15 seconds. It's like I had a dream that I had diarrhea in my bed, only to wake up and realize that I was sleeping in someone else's diarrhea, and some of it got in my mouth. That's how bad the movie was to you? Like someone took a dump in your mouth, and not only just a number two, that it was diarrhea. That's how bad the movie was?
I'm starting to feel like Jimmy Fallon because I'm laughing at my own jokes.
I mean, dude.
Okay. So, in all fairness,
people made this movie. People worked hard. All right.
In all fairness, everything that I said at the time and in the circumstance I was in when I watched it was accurate.
Has anything changed in the 6 hours since then? No, absolutely not.
I did get to sleep a little bit during the climax.
Wow. Dude.
All right.
You had more positive things to say about Black Adam, which was nothing but a video game on screen.
I did, but I like video games.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So I do think it's interesting for us to explore the difference, how we've come to this place, between the two of us. I don't know that we need to spend half of this on a spoiler, spoiler-free session, because
no. We're not. Okay. Spoilers are on from the start with this movie, because we're only spending half of our show today talking about this, and then we're moving into DC in a broader sense.
That's probably for the best.
That makes sense, because it's just one movie. I mean, it's not like we've got tons to say about a brand new movie that you obviously hated.
It's like the CW made a movie, threw it in the trash, and then someone picked it up and said, "Let's run with that."
Dear God, that's man, what happened. Comparing it to a CW show, that is. Man.
All right. So let's talk about this. I would, before we get into like the things that made me go, I don't want to devalue in this wonderfully unique, beautiful, tranquil meadow moment the positivity that exudes from you, which is such a rarity on this earth. So please, I want to hear you. Tell me what got you.
Hey, I'm positive. I'm the most positive person I know. I mean, again, it's not that there was anything spectacular about this movie. I just didn't hate it. It was decent enough to, if I had actually paid money to see it, which I didn't, because,
that might do it.
Regal Unlimited, I'll see anything. But I wouldn't have regretted paying money to see this. Now, if we were talking about like Cocaine Bear or something like that, maybe there'd be some regret there. But
the plot, okay.
But it was interesting enough to keep me interested.
What did you like about the movie, though? Not just what kept you like. I got some. I mean, what was good? Because I think I can attach to a few of the things that I think you would appreciate, especially the best friend and the girl and him, it being a little more centric to him. I love that actor. He's from It, Chapter 1 and 2. I like him a lot. But tell me, what?
Okay. the kid that played Freddie Freeman.
Yes,
Excellent.
Freddie.
Great job.
Excellent.
I thought that he was a standout performance, if not the standout performance of the entire movie.
Yep.
Because he got to play not just the like in the first one, he was basically the sidekick kind of character who,
Yep.
Had the punchy one-liners
Right.
and that he still got to do that this time around, but he got to show some real range too with the way that he felt about things. Again, spoilers. At the end, we are under the impression that Billy is dead, and for all intents and purposes, he does sacrifice himself to beat the bad guy, and so he is dead, and this is Freddy's his best friend. He's his foster brother, stepbrother, however you want to label that. They are family, and he's devastated by this loss. And I thought that oh gosh, what's the kid's name? Grazer, I think is his last name. He's one of those kids that's got 3 names. I thought he did a fantastic job, and so like I said, he is a standout, if not the standout.
Agreed, 100%.
I love Helen Mirren in just about anything she does. Winchester notwithstanding. Did you see that one? The Winchester House, the movie about the haunted house out in.
Yep, I saw it. Yep, Winchester. I saw that.
Not great, as far as I was concerned.
Better than this?
What?
Sorry.
I don't know. What else?
How about Lucy Liu's wonderful performance?
No, not at all. I do not.
She reminded me of Uma Thurman in Batman and Robin.
As far as like I say, I love Helen Mirren, I really do. But as far as the villains go, the way they were written in this movie, they were very one-dimensional. There was no meat to their story. I get it. I get the story. I understand it, and I understand how it ties into the first one with Billy snapping the staff, and making it possible for them to return to the mortal world. But overall, as Daughters of Atlas, that's I thought that was a weak characterization, especially when you look at the history of the comics with Captain Marvel, Shazam, and he has a plethora of enemies. And we even see in the post-credits scene 2 of them. Of course, we saw both of them in the first one. And Dr. Savannah was the main villain in the first one, but they teased us with Mr. Mind after the first one. And so, we're expected to, I don't think it was unrealistic for fans to expect to see more of that character in this one, but maybe the writers don't believe that audiences can latch onto a villain who is a genius worm caterpillar.
Well, and I do think so. If you have no experience or exposure with the comic books, anyone watching that is going to go, what? You know what I mean? It's just not gonna land, and it's just not. So I think they have a realistic, if they did think to pull back from that, it was wise, but they should have pulled back from it entirely. It's a stupid storyline.
I will say
as an arc villain for TV or movie adaptations.
Possibly. If they did with Mr. Mind in the movie, what they did with him in the 52 comics, that would be amazing.
Fair, yeah. No, that's very fair. It's just you've got to be able to have time and an investment.
Yeah.
And people to be able to grasp that. And I don't know that they can pull that off. You got to have some prelim development. I mean, look at what Marvel's trying to do with setting up Kang.
Yeah.
And all of the little,
and he's a normal looking character.
Right? And but following up after Thanos and trying to lay these little eggs, and then also doing what they're going to do with Loki, and what they did with the first season, and then doing what they did with Ant-Man and Quantumania. It's just like these little things, and you just throw in a worm. It's just like, I'm sorry, it's just not going to land. It's never going to land with anybody. Um, I was surprised to not see Black Adam.
I wasn't.
Um,
I wasn't at all.
oh really?
No, not at all.
I mean, in the post credits. You not in
No,
the post credits
I
either?
didn't expect to see him at all because I mean, think about when Black Adam came out. Dwayne The Rock Johnson cannot keep his mouth shut about any secrets whatsoever. He is the one who leaked that Superman was going to show up in the end credit scene of
Right.
Black Adam. So you think he couldn't have kept his mouth shut about, having a cameo at the end of Shazam? I don't think so.
Right.
No.
No, that's
I had no expectation that he was going to show up. I don't think that his ego would have allowed him to show up for 2 measly minutes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love The Rock. I think he's a lot of fun and he can draw a crowd. But as far as him playing Black Adam goes, I feel like that chapter is done. That ship has sailed. And look, when it comes down to it, I just like the first one. I felt like it was fun. There was nothing spectacular. Like I said, this is a middle of the road. If I were putting this on a scale of 1 to 5, I'd give it a 3. This is, it's not great.
I was putting on a scale of
It's
1
not
to 10,
horrible.
I'd give it a 3.
I get it. You hated it. That's fine.
Well, no. Let me share the parts that.
Do you have any positives to say?
So the seat that I sat in was pretty comfortable.
Oh, mine wasn't. Gosh.
Y'all
have those reclining seats?
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
No. But compared to the movie, it was like I was on a bed of roses. So anyway,
well,
sorry.
yeah,
I know I've got so many.
The movie was a bed of diarrhea, according to you.
No, I think the thing is like the first movie I liked. I liked the first movie because, in a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of a way, and nothing in comparison to Guardians of the Galaxy, which I loved so much more, but I liked how it was funny. It kind of took the superhero element, put it in the hands of a teenager, and then you just got to kind of play with it a little bit. And I liked that. And I loved the surprise. I did not expect at the end all the friends in the foster home to become superheroes. And I loved that. I loved the element of all of them, and especially on the bridge when they were helping and everybody on the bridge in this movie. That was great too. The villains were weak. The plot was super weak with that. The young girl who was the younger sister, thought she did a great job. And I love the Freddy storyline. It's just, I think that the challenge with the movie is it just didn't have any epic proportions to it. And I think that we are facing a time, and you look at Wonder Woman 1984, and I look at that and I say, forgettable. I look at this movie and I think forgettable. The breakthrough movies were pretty awesome. Man of Steel was awesome. Wonder Woman was awesome. Aquaman, I loved Aquaman. And Shazam I like too. It's just, we're facing this time where these sequels are, and even Iron Man 2 was awful, in its own way, compared to the first one. And you just face this, let me build on this. And if it's not going anywhere, if it's not like leading towards some epic plot, then it's almost like, I mean, the character's great and all, but it's not really worth it, for me. The dialogue, I thought the writing was not the best. That's not anyone's fault. That's why I kind of texted you about Helen Mirren. Was, the dialogue's rough, but truly, if anybody can make bad dialogue work, it's Helen Mirren, of course. And, I think Zachary Levi, there was a few liners there where she and him were meeting together, and they kind of called out some things that were funny and appropriate. But outside of that, it was rough. There was a sentimental moment with the Freddy character that was helpful, but I mean, it was a hard movie to sit through personally.
Yeah, you mentioned something, sort of, I don't know if I'd call it a complaint, but you pointed out that, if it's not building up to something epic, what's the point? Is that where we're at these days? Are we spoiled by the MCU where, it feels like everything is building up to something bigger, and standalone movies just can't exist anymore? Is that where we're at?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that a good storyline will stand on its own regardless, and it'll find its way out for people. I'd like to believe that, and I think that can be in and outside of a superhero movie. When you have a good movie with a good plot that grabs you and you're invested in characters because you have good writing, good direction, good cinematography, and good acting. I think when you have those things happen, you stop. I think you can't help but pause. I think that we're in a place where we have a whole lot of movies now that are second-rated movies. And I don't mean to sound so cynical. It just feels like if unless you've got that grabs you, then you're left with, resigning yourself to it being part of something bigger to justify its value, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, I get that. I just asked because, I feel like I've been having the conversation with folks, more often than not, and repeatedly about, not to change subject, but the Marvel movies, and how disappointed people have been with Phase 4, and now moving into Phase 5 with Ant-Man. And one friend of mine in particular, she had been talking about how she has this tendency to watch Endgame on repeat. Like, she just loves it that much, and
Yeah.
will watch it, and despite knowing what's going to happen, she will find herself crying throughout the entire movie, and that's
Right.
fine. I get that.
Right.
Like, it's a very emotional movie,
Right.
especially if you know what's coming. Like,
Right.
it's a movie that was 10 years in the making. We as an audience were exposed to all of these characters over the course of 10 years, and got to know them and got to care about them, and when their stories ended in Endgame, it was hard. It was
Right.
hard for us because we grew to love these characters, and of course you don't want to see them go away, but that's the nature of life. Every
Right.
journey has its end, as Iron Man says. um and so, but part of that is too, like, she said that, as much as she loves Endgame, she feels like she keeps getting disappointed every time she goes see a Marvel movie, and it's not, uh
Of
it
that
doesn't live up
caliber.
to those
Right.
standards. And I'm like, you can't expect an in-game level event every time you go see a new Marvel movie, because
Yeah.
again, it took them 10 years to get to
To
Infinity
make it.
War and Endgame. And
No, yeah,
now
that's
they're
true.
building up to the next, big event is going to be Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, and those are going to be your in-game level events. But I mean,
I
between
think,
now and then,
yeah.
all these folks who are looking at these and are saying that Marvel's lost their
Yes.
edge,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
just hold on,
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
putting
Hold
the
on.
chess pieces in place.
Yeah, I do think if you're comparing an Avenger, Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame, Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty, or all those, you can compare those, but you can't really. It's not fair to like compare a Iron Man 1 or a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Thor. You can compare those together, but against those movies, it's just different. It's a
Yeah.
different type. There is like, I think, my brother-in-law at one point had said to me, he jokes about the Marvel movies because, like, what are they on now? The Spider-Man 14, or something like that, and he won't watch those kind of things, those continue, because he feels like the franchise is just trying to take advantage, and he's not wrong,
Oh
right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's like this money element.
It's all
And
about Disney making a buck. That's what it is.
Right. And I, for the longest time, would retort it or be like, oh no, there's like this epic story. But, and I don't mean to sound cynical, but there's just like this, I think I'm coming around on it a bit, where now I'm starting to have to qualify what's worth my time, to really see or to invest in anymore, because it's getting so big. Before it was just like, I want to see everything that leads up to Infinity War. But now with it getting like it is, and even on the DC side with the disappoints with that, how many times you got to watch a DC movie that disappoints you before you start going, I think I'm just not gonna do that. Or maybe I'll catch it in the background on a Saturday when I'm doing my bills. You know what I mean? That it's like almost qualifying it for that side as opposed to being invested all the way in. You know what I mean?
So that really brings me to another question. Have we as a society gotten to the point where we're tired of superhero movies? Are we there? Are we almost there? Has the market just been super saturated with superhero movies?
I think as long as, and this is just my opinion, but I think as long as people can personify their own ascension towards something better, they will want to see such movies. I think the idea of the Superman or the Superwoman, the idea of having the ability to fly or the ability to have power or to overcome, or even the symbolic nature of overcoming some foe, whether it's man versus man, nature herself, I think that will always permeate in culture as it has for thousands of years in literature and all the other ways of viewing entertainment and comedy and drama. So I don't feel like it's the idea of a superhero is going away if you're talking about the enhanced person. I think that what we may find is that the culture might be getting tired of the force-fed superhero element, because right now it's like, oh, you mean DC and Marvel, and you got DC, Marvel, and you got Star Wars, and so you have these icons, these franchises, these storylines,
Huge intellectual properties.
that's right, that are seen as being the thing. And then you have something like Everything Everywhere, that comes out and succeeds and wins, these awards, and it has nothing to do with any of those.
Yeah.
Because you have a person who is just a mom, an overworked mom, that is trying to work out her world, and then she turns out to be so much more than just who she is, as we all are, in that one element. And I think people attach to that, and they see that there's more to it. You look at All Quiet on the Western Front, and people see more than just what the archetypes are. They see more, and they're invested in that. So I think there could be a shift in that regard. But do I think there's a change in the desire to see something of that genre? No, I don't ever. I'll never think that that'll die. Actually, what do you think?
That is a bold statement. I do think that eventually superhero movies are going to die out. I think that at some point they are going to stop making the kind of money that they consistently stop making the kind of money that they expect them to make. And I think that at that point, Disney will reevaluate and say, you know what, let's put Marvel on the back burner for a while and come back and re-examine in 5 years or so and see what we need to do then. Because
I agree with you there. I mean, I agree with you that the Marvel and the Disney, or the Marvel and the DC and the Star Wars could have to take a back burner. But surely, you've looked back thousands of years, whether it's the someone's got a mask on, you got a Zorro, or you got the Fox, or you got someone who is some hero.
Well, sure. There's always going to be a hero villain element to any action movie. But you think about the types of genres that come and go and kind of rise and fall and rise again. You've had just last week we were talking about the Scream movies. You've got the slasher
Yeah.
movie was huge in the 80s. I mean,
Right.
there were how many? I mean, you had your big franchises with Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, but you also had how many dozens of copycats with like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I don't know, just so many of these mass killer type movies that in the 80s were a big deal, and then in the 90s kind of dropped off until Scream came along and started poking holes in that genre and brought them back for a little while, and then they
Right.
went away. And now, Scream really is the only slasher movie out there that's making any headway. They tried to reboot Nightmare on Elm Street,
Right.
didn't work. They tried to reboot Friday the 13th, didn't work.
Right.
They
Didn't work.
rebooted Halloween, and the first one was good, and the other two not so great. But they committed to it, so good for them. But when it comes to horror these days, you're looking at more of the elevated horror, like they talk about in the movie, like the Babadook and
Right.
Midsommar and Hereditary, things like that. That's what's getting people these days. And that's just one example. And you can think about the action movies of the 80s. Like, do we see action like that these days? The over the top John McClane going through and taking down everybody that gets in his way, despite the fact he should have died 15 different times.
I think it's so different too. Like when you think about like the John Wick movies, right? It's just different.
Yeah.
It's so different than looking at, say, a John McClane. You're just, I don't know. He was so like, I think people would want to be like John Wick, like kids or people, in the sense of having cool fighting style. But as far as like being badass like John McClane, I don't think it's the same. It's just like it's hard to find characters these days that you would like identify with and want to be like. I guess role models, icons, things like that where you can look at it. And I feel like when we were growing up, we had no shortage of that.
Oh yeah.
We
I
had
mean,
so many characters. And there was, of course, you and I also went through a period in our young adulthood, I suppose, where there was the anti-hero, and so it kind of changed the landscape. Even Tony Stark for Iron Man becomes a little bit of an anti-hero because he's arrogant. You know what I mean? And it's not for, truth and goodness and, and I mean, it's
well,
just so
yeah,
different. It's more real, raw,
up until the end, and again, we're off topic here, but the beauty about Tony Stark's character arc is that, you know, throughout most of his appearances in the MCU, his motivation is making up for the things that he has done throughout his life.
Yeah.
And the screw ups he's made, the villains he's created. And then finally it gets to the end, and you know, Captain America even points it out in the first Avengers movie. He's like, you're not the one to sacrifice yourself. You are not the one like to throw yourself on the grenade, like he was.
Right, he was.
But then in the end,
He
he
does.
was. He
Yeah.
had to be. And he knew that it was up to him to be the one to stop it. And so that is, like I said, that's the beauty thing about it's like at the end there, he and Cap switched places where Tony was the one who was willing to make the self-sacrifice, and then Captain America, when it was all said and done, decided to take the road less traveled or whatever, and
Yeah.
gave himself the future he always wanted. Did
Right.
not stick to come back, going to be Captain America for the next 20-30 years.
Right.
He went home
He
to
went
the
home.
love of his life, and
Right. And
so
I do love that. I think, and I wonder sometimes, Aaron, I wonder how much of this was well thought out and how much is formed organically. I mean, obviously, Kevin Feige, Feige,
Feige.
Feige, that we, look at and everybody's like, he knows all. Maybe he does, you know what I mean? But I think there's some things here that kind of formed up when you get a good storyline and you're on a journey, and I don't know, as we go back to DC here, that DC has found its voice, and maybe with James Gunn it will.
I really hope so. I really hope so.
This is its best chance to, but it's got to find its voice. See, I would like to believe that this is not a Kevin Feige genius that has made this franchise, though it's been guided and well directed to become what it's become. I would like to believe that you've had great writing, you've had great acting, you've had great direction, and of course there were elements that were thrown in there. You can't have just like stones with no reason. They followed the comic books, and they had a template, if you will. But I would also like to think that when you have good theatrical performances, whether it's on stage or screen, that these things in the arts form naturally a great storyline that we as a society long for. And if DC can somehow be given the bandwidth from the executives to accomplish this, and you've got it helmed and cared for carefully, and you get all these things together, then it could too give us finally the Superman Batman universe that we long for.
See, I think if in the beginning, if the executives at Warner Brothers hadn't stepped in while Zack Snyder was doing his thing, I think it would have been just fine. I think that he would have been allowed to see his creative vision come true. And no, it may not have been the success that the MCU has seen, but I think it would have made sense as an overall story from Man of Steel through whatever Justice League sequel he had in mind, where I know his plan was for Superman to be in league with Darkseid for it's, I don't know, at some length of time, but to see Superman come back to being the hero he's supposed to be, I think would have been an interesting story, but that's neither here nor there. That won't ever happen. Speaking of the Snyderverse and who's still there, how did you feel about Wonder Woman showing up?
Best part of the movie. Loved it.
I did think the dream that he was having, where he was on a date with Wonder Woman, I thought was pretty funny.
Wait, hold on. Slept through that. Tell me what happened.
Did you really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So early on, he's clearly having a dream where he is on a date with Wonder Woman. They're both in costume at this fancy restaurant in Paris. And she gets up and starts to walk away, and he's trying to talk her into staying, and she turns around and she's the body of Wonder Woman, but the head of the wizard who was communicating with him through the dream. So that was really funny. But then of course she shows up at the end, and I really hate that the commercial spoiled this for us because we knew it was coming.
That's true.
But
that's how you knew he wasn't dead.
Yeah,
because you hadn't seen it.
So it's like, oh, come on, guys. But I did like seeing her Gal Gadot show up again as Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman 3 has been canceled. So this may be the last time we see her on screen as Wonder Woman, which kind of sucks. I thought she has done a great job as Wonder Woman.
Too.
Like, in spite of the fact that 1984 was a mediocre movie.
It wasn't because of her. She did a great job.
No, she has been a great, I know anytime they make casting news about anybody, people complained about her. I don't even know why.
Well, no, I mean, she did great, and Kristen Wiig did good too. Pedro Pascal, although I love Pedro Pascal from Game of Thrones, and now for the Last of Us, and Mandalorian, I think he's great. But his character, no fault to him, unless it was like much better on script than what he portrayed it. But the character and that whole plot was stupid.
Yeah, the Maxwell Lord stuff.
The Maxwell Lord stuff was absolutely stupid.
No,
but Gal Gadot and Kristen Wiig did great. You know,
I think that she was great as Wonder Woman. Almost as iconic as Linda Carter at this point.
Yeah.
So I would love to at some point hear that all right, we're going to have another Wonder Woman movie, and it is going to be Gal Gadot that plays her, but I don't see that happening because of just
I don't
moving
either.
forward with James Gunn. I know he's recasting Superman, and so it's going to be a different thing. But it was good to see her, one last time, if that's what it was. Now let's talk about these post credits scenes. So we talked a little bit about Dr. Savannah and Mr. Mind showing up in the end credits scene. And so the question there is, do we think there's supposed to be another Shazam movie coming down the line, or is this it? And that's just, we're going to leave that loose end untied, because the mid credit scene, we see two characters who are prominent in the Peacemaker TV show, which is a James Gunn joint, and that woman, the actress who plays her, I can't remember her character's name. She's married to James Gunn, so of course she's involved.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
I didn't know she was married to James Gunn.
Oh yeah. Yes. So she, those two are, closely tied to Amanda Waller. They're closely tied to Peacemaker. And
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because when they came, I'm thinking, from the second they said Amanda Waller, I'm thinking that they're going to talk about Suicide Squad. But when they say Justice Society, I was like, huh?
well, it's because of the ties to
Black
Adam with
Yeah.
Justice Society and Amanda Waller. Somehow, I guess in this universe, Amanda Waller has the Justice Society as like the public face of heroism, whereas Task Force X is like they're the ones that you keep hidden, and you can write them off if they fail.
Do you mean the aristocratic Justice Society?
Yes. Let's call that the aristocratic version of the Justice League.
Thank you.
I do not think this word means what you think it means.
So yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know that they know what they're going to do. I think at this point I have enough skepticism with DC that they may not. They are probably waiting to decide about a Shazam 3 based upon how this movie goes.
Let's see how this goes, and let's leave the door open if we need to.
That's exactly what I think they're doing.
Yeah.
And I do think that they're probably still trying to pave a way for there to be a crossover event that has elements that obviously within Amanda Waller kind of a way. It's interesting how Marvel's got this Jill Valentine character and Amanda Valentina character here in the DC side.
Jill Valentine is from Resident Evil. You're talking about
Valentina. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. What's Julia Louis-Dreyfus's name?
Valentina.
Val what?
I can't remember the last name. Valentina, but
Val.
Call me Val, but don't call me Val.
Yeah. So you got her in this kind of similar element of like gathering these characters.
Yeah, she's got a very Amanda Waller-esque kind of quality to her, as far as like she's pulling strings here and there and making arrangements for these sidelined anti-heroes that are here and there in the Marvel universe.
And Amanda Waller in the comic books is very much she although, is it Alfre Woodard who we see her as in the DC? Is that the actress, Alfre Woodard?
No, it's Viola
Davis. I always get them confused. But I remember that the Waller, Amanda Waller in the comic book, she looks much like Stacey Abrams, the politician. It's interesting that, I mean, she is like very, very government, very and she has no powers, but she is just she's not scared
manipulative
and not scared of anybody or anything.
Oh no,
anytime.
No, because she's got enough power, like just people under her thumb. She doesn't have to be afraid of anybody or anything.
Right.
Like I feel like she is man, it's like if something were genuinely a threat to her existence, she would have some kind of counterplay to make sure that it wasn't a threat to her at all.
Right.
Like she's always 10 steps ahead, playing those chess moves,
And I don't think that she's scared of dying in the least bit.
Oh gosh, no.
I think she's kind of,
if that's what it takes to accomplish her goal, she will do it.
right. Hey, and was she ever involved in the comic books with Checkmate?
Yes.
What part did she play with Checkmate? Because that was a really intrinsic storyline for a long time.
I can't remember.
Was she just a pawn?
No,
Sorry.
I want to say at one point she was one of the queens.
Okay. Like she was a major player.
I'm pretty sure she was a major player. Yeah. I mean, the Checkmate storylines have come and gone and come back again over the years.
Right.
And she has played a role, I believe, in one or two instances of its existence, but not always. Usually you find her deeply seated in the US government somewhere,
right,
and again pulling the strings of the Suicide Squad for the most
almost
part,
like a Hydra, but the difference like is Amanda Waller, typically it's the by any means necessary for the greater good kind of mentality,
right?
And so there's always like this, even use the evil in whatever methods to be able to accomplish the dirty work that the good heroes can't do.
Sure.
And sure. The interesting thing about looking at her character is sometimes that's right. Sometimes you need that,
and she'll sacrifice anybody she has to get it done. I mean, we see that in the very beginning of the Suicide Squad,
right?
That the most recent version of the movie that came out. She put together two different teams for Task Force X, and the first team was just a distraction, so that the other team could sneak on to Santa Prisca. It was crazy.
Well, I do think that the first post-credit scene of Shazam 2 is interesting because obviously Billy Batson is extremely manipulatable. You know what I mean? He is gullible and he is young, and I think she could use him. I do think that there is that could be a door to that being the undoing of whatever nefarious plot there is you can see him switching sides in any way based upon who is talking to him. So that's always the trick with some character like his, is it's a lot of power, it's a lot of damage, and it's all that, but then it depends on who's talking to him.
Now, so I'm gonna disagree. Not in that he's not manipulatable, whatever the word is,
manipulatable.
He's pliable. No, so the classic Billy Batson is obviously a lot younger than he is portrayed on the screen, because kids grow up. That's just how it happens. But like Billy's like 10 years old in the comics, and perpetually a 10-year-old, now and forever. But the one of the most interesting Shazam family stories I remember ever coming out, and it actually came out of a mediocre title. Do you remember the Countdown to Final Crisis? Where for a while Mary Marvel turned to the dark side. Like she got I think she had lost the actual powers of Shazam, but then of course this was before they had the idea of an entire Marvel family. It was just, you had Billy was Captain Marvel, Freddie was Captain Marvel Jr., and Mary was Mary Marvel.
Which, pause real quick, pretty funny reference when Freddie references Shazam as the junior. That was a cool
Captain Every Power Jr.
Yeah, that was a good throwback to the comic.
But then so at some point, they had been playing around with only Billy being the one to have the powers, and so Freddie lost the powers, Mary lost the powers, and then it sometime during that Countdown title, she, I believe, got a taste of Black Adam's power.
No.
or he gave up his power and gave it to her
Yeah.
temporarily. And so, that turned her to the dark side. She had instead of the regular red outfit, she was wearing a black outfit like Black Adam's. And it's happened a couple of times. I know if Young Justice were to continue past its fourth season, which sadly it's not, it's been canceled, so there will not be a fifth season. But they teased at the end both Supergirl and Mary Marvel on Apocalypse as disciples of Darkseid. So they would have been used in a fifth season, and Mary would have been one of the villains, which I think is interesting. So I think if they do a Shazam 3, I would love to see Mary and or a number of the other kids tempted to maybe go to the dark side, maybe go toward, if you're doing a third one, you need to bring in Black Adam. You need to bring in the Monster Society of Evil with Mr. Mind, with Dr. Savannah. Just bring them all in and have one big story that wraps it all up, and have Mary tempted to, she sees Black Adam and is like, he's got a good idea about how to do things. And she joins him, takes on his power. I think would be very interesting, but I don't see it happening. I honestly don't see a third one coming, because there's just so much that they've already laid out for the next few years.
Yep.
And I know, when James Gunn made his big announcement about, the projects that he did announce, he said, this is just a portion of what we're calling chapter 1.
Yeah.
Gods and Monsters. So yes, you've got his Superman movie that he is writing, Superman Legacy, I think is what it's called. You got Batman, the Brave and the Bold, which is going to be different than the Batman with Robert Pattinson. That's going to continue, but it's going to be Elseworlds. And then you've got TV shows. There's an Amanda Waller TV show coming. Apparently the Green Lantern project is going to be a TV show.
Yeah, and they're also coming out with the Gotham. We were talking about me playing Gotham Knights earlier, but they're going to have a CW show, Gotham Knights, where it's
already out.
Oh, it's out now?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything positive about it since before it started.
I didn't know it was out yet.
Yes, it's already started. Before it even aired, the reviews were coming out negative.
Well, and I think that this taste that we get of all these different things, the challenge is, like, it needs to be redefined. People have expectations. I mean, I wish there was just an Apocalypse movie that didn't have any DC characters in it other than, Darkseid, and it was just a movie about that. You just take, you're very minimal in your DC expressions about it. It's a movie about a war world, a world that's been corrupted by a machine, and that has, these characters, and you have these oppressed people that are fighting to overcome it. And in the end, you have this foe that's been built up in this entire movie is starting to look for other planets to try to conquer and destroy. I mean, it would be cool to me if DC strived to be a little bit more subtle and being outside. And maybe Blue Beetle will be one of those. Maybe it'll be like that, where it's getting these little bits. And I hope so. But I just think the direct approach has not worked very well in this latest decade, and they've got to be careful about how they roll forward.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. So next up, we've got The Flash coming out, which everything that I've heard about that coming out, like James Gunn has said, it's the best superhero movie he's ever seen.
So.
This week it came out that I think Tom Cruise had a meeting with the president of Warner Brothers and was able to take a screener of The Flash home to watch it, and he said it was one of the best things he's ever seen. That's Tom Cruise, so take that with a grain of salt. But like everybody who has seen it and has been able to talk about it has had nothing but good things to say.
That's great.
And the the trailer looks amazing.
Oh, the trailer was the one that you and I talked about. I was like, I'm so excited to see Michael Keaton. I mean, I honestly, that's all I want to see.
So here's
Really.
my question with that. So a lot of this is the Flash is it's obviously influenced by the Flashpoint storyline,
Yeah.
where Barry goes back in time to save his mom from being killed by the Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
And he succeeds and winds up completely changing the face of the world.
Right.
And so apparently that's what happens here. And he winds up in this whole other timeline where Michael Keaton is Batman. So the question I have is Michael Keaton an older version of the Batman we knew from 1989, or is he Thomas Wayne Batman?
I would be disappointed if he was Thomas Wayne Batman.
Yeah.
I want him to be the one that we knew. And see, I'm part of the camp that's always wanted there to be a Batman Beyond, and to have
love that.
Batman.
I wish that's something they should have done years ago.
Oh, I know. And that was such a cool idea and good show. And I feel like it's honoring. There's so many fans beyond me that just are such enthusiasts of the Michael Keaton 2 movies, the Tim Burton ones. And I think that this needs to just be honoring for it. If he's Thomas Wayne, I'm going to feel the way I did when I saw Kevin Conroy as Batman in the CW crossover. And what I mean by that is it was really great to see Kevin Conroy in live action. And I love that. But at the same time, there was a part of me that felt like, he's bionic and he's bad.
Yeah, and he's the bad
like
guy.
That.
Yeah.
It wasn't honoring in the way that I wanted it to be. It was cool to see him. He absolutely deserved to be in it, but I needed to see him in an honoring fashion. I didn't get that. And so when I see this with Michael Keaton, I'm like, I'm really needing to see him as the Bruce Wayne. This is him from years later. That's my opinion.
I'll tell you, like I haven't heard anything or read anything that I don't know that anyone out there is speculating that this is going to be Thomas Wayne, which surprises me because, with it taking so much influence from Flashpoint, where in that reality, Thomas Wayne was Batman. In that reality, Bruce is the one who got killed in that alley, and Thomas and Martha are the ones who survived. And of course, Martha went crazy and became that universe's version of the Joker, while Thomas became the Batman. Kind of crazy like that. But I'm with you. I hope that Michael Keaton is coming back as the Batman we knew in 1989 and 1992.
Wouldn't it be cool though if in the scene, like they show Michael Keaton come out there, and then all of a sudden you have Selena Kyle, Michelle Pfeiffer come downstairs, into the Batcave, and she's like, hey guys, what I mean? It's just, that'll be the coolest thing ever to see her again, because I've been watching all the Batman movies with my son, and he's like, do we ever see her again? I'm like, no, not until Ant-Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think you should get your hopes up for that.
I know, but I really, she's the best Catwoman.
But I do think you ought to be prepared just in case he is Thomas Wayne. Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's just speculation on my part. But again, with it taking so much from the story of Flashpoint, I got to wonder why nobody out there has been saying anything about that possibility.
Well, it may be. But if anything, this movie does give the opportunity for DC to reset.
Yeah.
Much in the same way that, the Multiverse of Madness did for Marvel. This whole No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness has given them the ability to do things. And of course, the What If show, all of those gave Marvel the chance to be able to introduce, say, X-Men Beyond and Deadpool and Fantastic Four, and be able to do all this stuff that they were having trouble with. And DC's got a whole lot of trouble with all of its continuity. So this gives a great opportunity to say, hey, you know what? You don't need Affleck. You don't need Keaton. You don't need Pattinson. We can start fresh. This movie could end with it being like, get ready for your new DC, baby. And James Gunn's going to show you how to do it. And that would be the wisest thing that they could do, is to end in such a way that everybody goes, what's coming?
See, so with that being the case, I feel like they should have rearranged the release dates on these and have the Flash be the last one that comes out before James Gunn rolls out his next wave of stuff. Because if this is the one that's supposed to reshape the DC universe to the point where it's different moving forward, because we still have Blue Beetle coming, we still have Aquaman coming, and these are vestiges of the old DC universe. So
right,
again,
I think that's a huge
so
mistake.
what does this mean? So what, like, again, I can't help but wonder, again, they're leaving these breadcrumbs with the Shazam, post-credit scene, mid-credit scene, and then we've still got 3 more of these movies that were already in development, already finished,
right,
when James Gunn came on and started making his plans for the next 10 years of movies and TV
right.
shows. So it's like,
well, Blue
what's
Beetle
next?
has the better chance of being able, because it's such a standalone in itself, it has the better chance of being able to be okay. Aquaman, Momoa is awesome and great, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know that Aquaman is. I don't know how that's going to be. It's hard to say. Yeah, I really hope that regardless, whatever, they're leading off of a complete reset, and they're using the Flashpoint as the ability to make that reset and just being done. There is no Cavill. Although I liked Cavill and I would have loved for him to stay on. At the same time, the franchise needs a complete reboot, and they need to do it in the right way.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Any other thoughts before we go into trivia for the future of DC movies? Your hatred of Shazam? Anything else?
I will enjoy Shazam too, in the background, when I am in a coma. I think I would enjoy it
while
then.
I'm doing my taxes and getting a root canal at the same time. I kind of hope that's on the TV in the other room.
Forgive my harshness for this movie. And
man, poor Zachary Levi. He poured his heart and soul into this character.
a little shallow. Hey, it was nice switching places with you for a little bit, though.
Get used to it. I'm the cynic here.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, that's right. Stay in your lane, girl.
All right, let's hear your trivia.
All right, so I actually don't have any trivia written down this time like I normally do. I am
gonna randomly think of questions.
This is off the cuff.
Okay.
All right.
You're making this up as you go along? This is like
I am.
A conversation with my
son. So James Gunn, moving forward in the DC universe, has announced that he is writing Superman Legacy. Who is directing?
Who is directing?
They recently announced a director for the movie. Who is that director?
Oh, I've not heard the latest news. Let me guess and hope. I just don't want it to be. I actually don't want it to be Zack Snyder. I don't want it to be Christopher Nolan, and I don't want it to be.
I imagine that those two have cut ties with Warner Brothers altogether by this point.
They're like, I'm out.
Well, Christopher Nolan got angry with Warner Brothers when Tenet came out, and they released it on HBO Max.
Oh yeah.
He was pissed.
It'd be funny to see a Guillermo del Toro, version of Super.
He's a good director.
He is a good director.
I'd like to see Spielberg do it. I mean,
yeah, no, for anything really.
Who
Gosh, man,
embodies hope like Spielberg?
I can't even. I don't think I can even guess. Would man, if I think about like the Duffer Brothers and all of those doing shows and stuff, how they're
I
just
will
like
say this: it's a
leading.
name you know.
It's a name I know.
Yeah,
Don't say Ryan Johnson.
no,
All right, go ahead. Just tell me.
it's James Gunn.
He's going to direct it?
Yeah, yeah. He just announced in the last couple of weeks that that he is actually going to direct it as well as write it. So
I'm hopeful for that.
that's good.
I'm happy about that. Hey,
Yeah.
did he direct and write Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. So
Yeah.
he's.
I still haven't seen Peacemaker. I need to see that.
Don't watch it with the kids.
Nope.
Watch it by yourself.
Yeah,
But it's worth watching. It's pretty good.
I will.
All right. Question 2. Also announced in the coming DC slate of movies, motion pictures, is a new Batman movie. Not the Batman Part 2, which is coming, but a new Batman movie that will have a new Batman and a Robin. What was the subtitle of that Batman movie?
Oh, didn't you like say it earlier too?
I don't remember saying it, but I'll give you a hint. It is a common comic book title that has come and gone several times over the years.
Well, shoot, there was Batman Shadow of the Bat. There was Batman.
This one was typically a Batman team up comic where he would team up with random other heroes from the DC universe and sometimes villains.
I just know Batman and Detective Comics.
Shadow of the Bat, Streets of Gotham, The Legends of the Dark Knight.
That was what I was going to say. Legends of the Dark Knight.
No.
Shoot, now what do you got?
It's The Brave and the Bold.
Oh, the Brave, that you did say it earlier tonight.
Oh, did I?
You did.
Well, how about that? Okay. Okay. Question 3. The actress who played Mary Marvel was in a thriller that came out in 2022 that was basically the opposite of 47 Meters Deep. Can you name that movie? It was the opposite of 47 Meters Deep, but same basic plot.
Was it a Fall movie?
Fall, yeah.
I saw that after you told me about it. I watched it on the plane going from Vegas back to Atlanta, and I literally had to press the fast forward. I couldn't handle some of the stress points of that movie. I was like, you are just, y'all, if you're listening to this and you have not seen the movie Fall, it's good to see because it is provocative to your emotions. But it is, it is also a warning because it is provocative to your emotions.
If you have a fear of heights, it might not be something you want to watch.
No, but even so, it's also just like this, like you have these movies where it leaves you kind of hanging, no pun intended, but it really leaves you hanging for a minute. It's funny though, because here's another critique of Shazam too. That moment where the dragon is going to blast them with its blue, lightning breath, and it's just like standing there with its mouth open with Lucy Liu on its back. And it's just like the longest scene ever. And there's like all these other scenes where the dragon does not have to like build up its energy to like shoot blue, it's flame or whatever it is out. But in that scene where it's this epic moment, it lasts for like 60 seconds for him to actually like shoot his blue lightning out and before he gets usurped. Anyway, there's a lot of those. Sorry.
Question 4. When Zachary Levi's Shazam is having his parlay with Helen Mirren's Daughter of Atlas, they mention another movie franchise that Helen Mirren is heavily involved in. What was that movie franchise?
I love that. That was one of my favorite scenes of the movie was them sitting together too. What was that? Because I know I had to have laughed at it.
You might have been asleep at that point.
No, I watched that scene. I like that. I love that scene. That was a good scene. That was a great scene because he also made fun of himself too. Ah, gosh, all that's coming to mind right now is 1928 in Red. But that's not what it is.
No, not at all.
No, go ahead and tell me.
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious.
Because he was going to say it's all about family. And then everyone was supposed to show up and they were late.
That's exactly right. That's right. Nobody shows up. Right.
All right. One last question. Rachel Ziegler, who played the youngest daughter of Atlas, who was also a love interest for Freddie Freeman, made her debut. I believe her first film was West Side Story, where she played Maria.
Right.
She will be playing a live action Disney princess coming up. What Disney princess is she going to be playing?
Is she playing Ariel?
She is not.
Oh, no, that's the other girl.
Yeah, that's Halle Bailey.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so who's she playing then? I guess I haven't heard that.
I just found that out today, actually.
Live action Disney princess. They've already done.
So you know it's not Cinderella. It's not Belle.
They've already done Sleeping Beauty.
And it's not Ariel. And it's not Jasmine.
Are they going to make her a Snow White? Are they redoing Snow White?
They are making her Snow White. That is exactly right. She's been cast as Snow White in the upcoming live action version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Interesting. I really like the Snow White version with Julia Roberts.
Mirror.
Mirror. The kids and I like to watch that all the time.
I haven't seen that one.
That plays?
That is Lily Collins. That is Phil Collins' daughter.
Yeah. I really like that movie, actually.
I didn't see that one. I did see Snow White and the Huntsman, the one with Kristen Stewart and
you'll never get that time back.
What's his name? Chris Hemsworth. It's funny. The sequel was actually better than
it was. It was absolutely better. But also Charlize Theron was wasn't she that she was the queen?
She was the evil queen in both of them.
And she was the person that made that movie.
Yeah.
Even
though it was more about Chris Hemsworth than anything else.
Right. Well,
once they got rid of Kristen Stewart, it was fine.
Yeah.
Made it a much better movie. All right. That was our trivia for the week. Anything else you want to say about, you want to crap on Shazam a little more before we go, or?
No, but as I lay down tonight and go to bed, I'll think to myself, in my dreams, I'm likely to not think of that movie. I'm going to think about bigger and better things of the DC universe. I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to get back my enthusiast mentality. I've already exhausted myself for a year.
I think you're done now. I think everything comes out now. You're just be like, this was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
You think I'm going to be cynical now? Well, if that's the case,
did we switch? Did we Freaky Friday?
We Freaky Friday. We're going to see what happens next week. What are we talking about next week?
John freaking Wick.
That's good.
Like, neither one of us has anything bad to say about John Wick. Am I right?
I don't. I actually like all the John Wick movies, but some people really don't like the second one, or it really depends on how you go into it. What's your expectation of going into those movies?
I have no expectation. Liked them. I don't care about the plot. I mean,
I don't either.
They killed his dog and he's out for vengeance. That's all I know. That was the spark that lit the fire.
That started the spark that thank you. See, now we know we Freaky Friday because you're actually finding those things funny. Well, you even handled
that's funny in that situation. I like the line in The Last Jedi.
But you also allowed the aristocratic Justice Society comment without giving me a hard time. So
I still give you a hard time.
Something's off in the world.
I still give you a hard time. I still said I don't think that word means what do you think it means.
But even so, it was a kinder way.
Oh well, I was just, you have to quote Princess Bride when you have to.
I don't like this anymore. I want it to go back to the way it was.
It's because I gave up caffeine.
Oh, stop that.
No, I have to. I had to.
Hmm.
No more sodas. 2 weeks now. Oh no, almost 3 weeks.
That might mean next week's podcast could be a completely positive one.
I don't know about all that.
Oh, wait. Next week, we're going to figure this out because I'm going to GalaxyCon in Richmond with my son. We're going to go to GalaxyCon. So we're going to have to figure out when we're going to be able to record.
Well, have fun. Say hi to David Tennant. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be there.
He is. So is Mark Paul Gosselaar.
I don't care about him.
Zach, how dare you? It's Zach. Zach Morris.
I don't care. So I'd rather meet David Tennant.
Now we're back. I know. Cool. David Tennant.
10th Doctor is awesome.
You and I will figure this out. But yeah. Anyway.
All right. In the meantime, guys, if you like what you heard, tell your friends, tell your family, give us a like, a subscribe, hit that notification bell. Leave some comments if you want to. We'll read them right here on the show if we get any. And we would love to hear from you. What did you think of Shazam? Did you think it was as bad as Landon thought it was? Or did you think it was just as mediocre as I did? Come back and let us know, because some people just like to have fun, and Landon apparently is completely anhedonic now, which means he doesn't know how to have fun. It's just really sad. I hope he has fun at GalaxyCon though. Give that a shot. All right, and until next time, when we talk about John Wick, we're gonna hit up the first 3 movies, and then we're gonna talk about number 4 that's coming out next weekend. But until then, have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.
Catch you later.